So thank you so much, Lawrence, for coming to do a presentation for the Inviso Greece Discord community. So Lawrence has a particular expertise in exploit development surrounding defense evasion. And once again, thank you to Lawrence and thank you to everybody taking time out of your day to come up and show up and looking forward to some good questions at the end of the day. Don't forget, we have also another event coming next week with Maxime Thibault on threat intelligence. Afterwards, we're planning an automation event as well to talk about SOAR automation that will be done by the head of managed security services for engineering, Leon Burke, who's actually in the channel with us today, and by Benjamin Danjou, who's also the lead designer for SOAR engineering. So hopefully you guys will come by to those as well. And Lawrence, the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay. So first, thank you so much for this introduction. And I think I will also introduce myself in details. I think on this today, I want to try to cover the technique which recently I have developed, and also want to highlight some of the points for red teaming in general. So let's begin. So first, right now I'm working at BWC. I work as a security manager. Also leading the red team department and research. Also, like working with this, I also developed a kind of lab called Zero XSP, and I think it's a couple of years. And it started with simple blog, and then I do it from scratch and convert it to lab and going to register it soon. I think the other point this year happens. I don't know if like most of the people, I have just like found Steel Series, and it's a kind of device hacking to get privilege escalation on Windows, but I think it's fixed now. The other thing on security development, I created Mongoose 2 years ago, and I think Alexander was sitting right beside me when I was doing the first code. So yeah, yeah, and even he encouraged me a lot to continue. And recently, I have done a kind of thing is called mortar, which is it helps to evade the antivirus solutions and EDR, XDR, whatever. Okay. So at the beginning, as I said, I will just like try to highlight some points for our talk today. And first we start what's red teaming, because most of the people still didn't have um, like the right introduction or the definition what it is. And even if they are doing an engagement or try to explaining to their clients or to people, they still have kind of misinformation. So I think the best definition I have got so far is definition got by Joe and James, and it's also has been this code has been mentioned by Rasta Mouse, the instructor of CRTO course. I think red teaming is a kind of a process of using techniques, and procedure, which is labeled as TTPS. And the purpose of red teaming actually it's to emulate real world threat. It's not just like to compromise something. It's also to emulate how the threat actor could compromise the organization. Meanwhile, there is a goal is by measuring the effectiveness of the people, process, and technologies used to defend the environment. It means that you have also, on the other hand, the blue team standing. So it's a kind of operation which is red and blue together, not just like putting stuff and working blindly and just finalizing something with report and that's it. This is not the red teaming. So this is the most accurate definition that all people should know about red teaming. The other thing is red teamer goals or mission is to identify the area of improvements in the defense. Like for example, if you are evaluating the for example the team side or the defense mechanism that they have in an organization, you have to identify the area or the gaps that if you are trying to reproduce this kind of techniques, right, and you bypass, you have to provide how you do that and what's the best solution to fix this kind of gap. So it's a kind also identification area of improvement. So this is, I think, the most accurate of what is red teaming as a definition. The second thing, which is I wanted to talk about, is the difference between red teaming and penetration testing, because it's still right now, even in companies or when you are going to propose something for a client or another company that you want to engage with, there is still a kind of conflict between penetration testing and red teaming. Sometimes they ask you things which is related to penetration testing and they didn't know, because actually the red team lead, the one who's responsible for the engagement, doesn't actually has been um, clarify the correct definition or the difference between the two things. They are totally completely different in a scope. So penetration testing actually is a kind of process of assessment. So it means that this kind of assessment can be conducted like monthly or yearly or 2 years, something like that. And it's actually focused on one stack technology. And there's a kind of a scope, agreed scope, and a goal. And the ultimately mission of the penetration tester is to spot so much vulnerability as he can, and then provide remediation plans. So, for example, he plugs in the laptop into the network, whatever, and he starts scanning everything using NASes, using whatever scanning he wants to. He start port scanning, identify vulnerabilities, and then try to exploit these, and then later on try to provide recommendation or remediation plans in issue log, whatever, and deliver to the client. The client will approve, happy, and then everyone is happy. So this is about the penetration testing. So the output of any pen testing is, as I said, is a well-detailed reports, and that reports must include risk rating and recommendation part. And the most thing which is also make a difference is that there is no clear objectivities about penetration testing. So there is no evaluation of detection and response of the team. So I'm not evaluating how the response team acts or how what's the gaps they should improve. So again, it's not. So that's what's make it as a penetration testing. While the red team, on the other hand, has a very clear defined objective. It's to compromise and gain access into the organization systems. That access to organization systems, it doesn't just like I exploit a vulnerability, hey, I'm a red team. No, stop. This is not what it is. You have to do compromise for the email accounts, database, shares, credentials. Even if there is a cloud, you have to move to the cloud. If they have a kind of premise and it's connected to Azure or whatever, that you have to move to the cloud and try to compromise as much as I can. Every single service you have to compromise in order to simulate real life threat, because the threat actors actually doesn't, that's what they do. They're just like very official people. They are so crazy in mind. They just want to get the very high level, which is the domain admin on your organization, and drop the ransomware, do the breach, and then your organization is completely has been owned. So if you're not following this kind of mentality with as a red team, you're actually not doing the red team. So if you're just doing scanning and exploitation, This is not. And even if you got the domain admin, getting the domain admin doesn't mean that you are also doing the red teaming. It's a kind of objectives, but this is doesn't the real red teaming. It's about phases. It's about compromising and showing the impact. So, for example, your responsibility as a red teamer is to estimate the business impact. For example, if you are gonna to compromise some database and then you access, you have to locate this database. Does it have a PII? Does it have a credit card? Does it have a like personal information? Whatever. You have to simulate a threat actor solution like breaching. So when you have all of these in your hand, and at the end you have completed the all phases of red teaming, then yes, you are doing the red team engagement. So as I said, the phases of red teaming, I think this kind of thing you can find it online. I just copy it, so there are so many resources that you can refer to. It's a start as an engagement recon, initial compromise, then establish persistent, and after getting the escalative privileges, and then including that the C2, which is command and control, which is the most recommended thing to complete your red teaming. Because without command and control, you're actually not also simulating the threat actors, because the threat actors, that's what they're going to use, because they are remotely accessing you via email, phishing, or just dropping something in your organization. There are so many ways, right? So from there, you also have to conduct some internal phases like lateral movement, data analysis, whatever, until the final one, which is for me is most important for me. Like if I am leading something, I'm only focusing, not only, but I am more interested on this stage, because I want to know if I am able to extract anything from the organization without their knowledge, like dummy data, right? So I can highlight an issue. Hey, you don't have a DLP or a kind of solution to prevent something. So I can win another fine. So I think this is the correct path for a teaming operation. Um, yes. Other than that, it's just like a hoax. Yes. Again, the must use tools for red teaming, because many people get confused because sometimes they mix the tools. At the end, it's all hacking tools. It's fine. Like using Nmap, it's okay. But hold on, Nmap is so noisy. You have to know how to use it, right? But honestly, if I am going to do a team engagement, all I can do is to throw the C2. I don't need Nmap. Actually, I didn't do any board scanning internally using Nmap. I just do the phases for the red teaming, right? So the highly recommended, let's see, framework to use or the tool is Cobalt Strike. This is the highly recommended because it's customizable. You can use the beacon as you want. You can obfuscate it. You can customize it as you wish, and it's very advanced adversary simulation framework. The other one, but it's actually commercial, so it's not really available to like individuals, or maybe some hacked version. But I'm saying that the latest version or the updates or whatever, you have to purchase it. The other one which is Covenant, and I think it's written in C sharp, as I remember. I use it once. Is it good? But actually, I have a couple strikes, so I don't use it. But it has features which is very helpful. The other one, which is also open source project and it's heavily being used, is called Empire. It mostly have the all modules for PowerShell, including Power Supply modules like Power View or like Mafia tools, whatever. It's all included in Empire. Sorry, the other one, which is very important and any one is using, is Mimikatz. Mimikatz is very important because it's the one that can retrieve the memory information, like memory credentials, cache credentials. It's also it's sharp with very heavily techniques like pass the hash, create a ticket, request a ticket. Also, like principle of vulnerabilities is available in Mimikatz. So I think Benjamin, the developer, is one of my heroes that I really admire. And it's very, very good tool. It's available on binary and PowerShell, but I think the PowerShell is not the latest version. So you should wait until the PowerShell versions is yet has covered the latest one. Of course, the Bloodhound. The Bloodhound is a very good one to like demonstrate. Like for example, the AD structure. It helps you to draw the attack path. It's really easily focus on drawing the possibility to get the higher or value assets, like compromising something, how to get the DA who has the Kerber rusting privileges, who has some privileges to go there to this workstation, has a login session to this one. So this is very helpful if you wanted to deal with Active Directory environment. The other one I think is Repus, which is also like Mimikatz, but it has mostly covering the Kerber rusting, like requesting TGT or doing like tickets dump, something like that, ticket passing. So I think it's really amazing. Also, it's available in PowerShell, and you can use it so you can bypass the detection. It's just obfuscated version of Repus. It can bypass after you patching the MSI. And the final one, for sure, you have to do your own. Yeah, this tool is good. I like it. It's really fascinating. But right now we are facing like so many good our advanced technologies like can detect all of these. Even you try to obfuscate as like whatever you tried, the technology that Defender that they're doing is very good. They can detect you, so it's better to do your own. And this is requires you that you have a kind of programming language background, C Sharp, C, Pascal, whatever. But of course, not Python. Like, it's not good for Windows, I don't think. So, okay. So let's just start about like this is I recently, as I said, I have shared this with Crest. I do presentation Foxley in mortar loader like in specific. But let me, before we get into the mortar details, I'm trying to share some technical observation that I have observed during my engagement, my experience. As I said, obfuscation of scripts, binaries, it still can be detected. It still can be prevented. Like 90% of the basics of AV right now can detect Mimikatz, the binary one, right? It can detect obfuscated scripts in PowerShell. Sometimes, even if you try to patch the MSIs, it still can be detected. So now the challenge is more harder, but it's not impossible. You can do that. Everything is possible because the red team is more challenging because it's about defeating, not just like defending. This is why it's more interesting. So yes, as I said, the most of the AV XDR right now also can detect and prevent malicious memory execution. So if you are focusing on memory, also they are like enhancing their engines. They are enhancing their mechanism to scan the code inside a memory. Even that the memory is hard to be scanned when you're dealing with shell code, whatever. But right now, this becomes very easy for these solutions. The third point, I think, also like if you try to bypass the first one, the second one you bypass, the other one, which is tampering behavioral analysis. Like if the antivirus doesn't know your tool is very new, but actually you are following the same malicious behavior, so you are not doing anything new. You are just reinventing the wheel, which is wasting of your time. So because they know they have a behavioral analysis. The fourth one, which is indicators of compromise. I think this one mostly done by threat intel people who just like want to build their own databases. They don't want to share it. So sometimes the red teamer goes and thinks that his tools is very clear, no one can detect, and they didn't know that there is a kind of a threat intel person who do research in his background, whatever, and he has got build indicators of compromise, whatever it's like Yara rules, something like that. I'm not very Plutima, but I think it's about rules that has been written and can be detect your binary before AV can know. So yes, as I said, I have shared on Zero Access P very well detailed research, and there is also video on Crest you can look into. You just wanted to know about mortar in specific. So I just changed the name a little bit. It's about ghosting your binaries. So what's the mortar? What it does actually? Why it's make it hard and why it's like everyone like it and can run any malicious binary right now, whatever they want. No one can detect it, especially with basic EV or some advanced prevention solutions. Uh, so basically the workflow of Mortar, the first thing that there is an encryptor, which is compatible with Linux or Unix. So all you have to do is compile your encryptor, and then the encryptor will specify the binary that you want to encrypt, and it will encrypt it using Blowfish. The Blowfish will encrypt it with a symmetric key, and then the output is just like something encrypted. So you cannot read it, you cannot decrypt it, you cannot scan it. It's just like nothing. It's encrypted. So the idea is of how you are going to decrypt it without loading or putting that on a file. Like if you got it encrypted, the file is okay. But if you decrypt it and put it, the AV will detect it. So you're not using anything. You're just touching your other ear, right? So it's nothing. So the idea comes in is that I will build a loader that they will do the decrypting inside a memory. And that's only available through the Blowfish. Because the Blowfish, it has a kind of feature of a kind of algorithm. It's available in Pascal and C, I think only, which is can do on-fly memory encrypting, decrypting stream. That's the technique. So all the decryption can be done through the memory. That's very interesting. That's what I want, right? And since Pascal is object oriented, so basically I can do many memory streams inside the same procedure, not very struct. I can do that through one procedure. So what I have done so far, I just did one memory stream, which is do the decryption. And after the decryption, the output is not just like normal output. It's base 64. So here we are dealing also inside the memory as a base 64. So in this kind of stage, the AV is lost because the data was in one memory stream and then has been put in buffer in another memory stream with another format, which is base 64, and has been chunked. So he cannot identify which is the malicious one. He doesn't have this ability, right? After that, I have decoded the base 64 into another memory stream. I didn't just like decode it and in the file in the disk in the hard disk or whatever. No, I just copy the content to another memory stream to make it more harder. And then after that, we start the dynamic forking. So the dynamic forking started doing process following, which is creating a process in suspending mode, removing the image, and replace it with your binary, right? So the code, I got it as a 2 byte array, and then I put it as an image replacement in the process that I have created. So if I am creating CMD or I'm creating whatever process it is, Lawrence.txt, I'm creating this process. It's in suspended mode, so I can remove the original image and I put my malicious image. And that's all inside the memory. So nothing is on the disk. I'm not loading anything from the disk. That's why it becomes harder, and that's why mortar has this kind of hard to detect. Okay, I just created this menu, which will make it fun. Like if you encode something, it will be detected. Double encoding will be detected. Mortar cannot be. So it's about blowfish. Okay, so right now I think before I got to this presentation, there's someone has opened an issue on my GitHub. They're saying that Windows Defender has identified your tool as this kind of thing, mortar.a. I'm not surprised actually. This is expected, but defeating Windows Defender is very, very, very easy. Just changing the functions, add more functions, and here we go. Another virus tool, right? So it's not a big deal. I'm just trying to share with you that the security community is responding, which is something I was waiting for because I made this research and put it with the people before the criminal do, right? Because the criminal is also very smart and they have their own tools. If we are not prepared, we not put it on active so the people and the security companies or security like products can knows, then we were in big trouble. Okay, so the final, I think not the final, but porting your version of Mortar, like there is something that I want to highlight, which is I didn't write it on my research. Like as you can see here, like in Pascal, it's all about procedure, right? And I make it easier for people to just, you can write your own procedure and compile your own version. And you can specify your export here. So it can be you can specify your entry point whatever you want. So it will make the Plutima life more harder because sometimes they write rules according to the specific endpoints of DLL. So now you can change all of these things, right? You still have this kind of function. There's something interesting here I have added recently. One of the people also has test and say he was able to bypass the Bitdefender, but you have to specify the Bitdefender process to do the process hollowing. So he cannot prevent himself. That's so funny. And that happens with me with Cortex, that they cannot able to prevent themselves from process hollowing and memory execution. But fortunately, the Cortex team has fixed the issue, and I can verify. I'm working on my PyBass right now, but I don't think so. I'm gonna to share it onto the public in meantime, because I just like wanted to. I am a good person. I'm not like very bad to share and make their lives very harder, right? So I just wanted to my engagement. I was just like wanted to highlight the research, and you have the the freedom to modify to do your own research. And if you have something interesting, you can share it with your community. You can use it in your engagement. At the end, you are contributing in the open source community, right? So it depends on your freedom of usage. Yes, again, the community response, actually, I get very good feedbacks, very good testing case from people, like professional in the field. They have reproduced it and they get very good feedbacks for this research. On Pillow here, actually, ESET, they are trying so hard to to defend it, but yeah, they are so failed in memory execution. So you can just try to Google a mortar not detected in ESET, and you will read the full thread. So some of their people like disappointed about how they blind in the memory execution. The final demo I want to share is about a technique for Kaspersky, because Kaspersky has able to detect the original technique, which is like if you run DLL, the DLL they will able to detect it, like using run DLL to execute the aggressor, they're able to detect it, but fail to do a kind of reflective injecting or side loading or remote process injection, something like that. So the demo is so straightforward. You choose a CMT process. You inject the DLL aggressor. You put the encrypted file on your profile folder, and here you go. The Mimikatz is up and running. So uh, yeah, it's still in the memory. So even that if you type something, it's still in memory because you can run all the commands of Mimikatz, and nothing happens from the Kaspersky side. Again, you can subscribe to my own site if you wanna get informed with the news uh, newsletter. Like if I share some articles, research, you'll get informed. You can navigate to my GitHub account for the core into project running right now, mortar. I'm not sure if I'm going to push a version 2. It depends on the response of the community. If you have any kind of feedback, or you wanted to share some research, or you wanted to contribute in something, I'm very open to any contribution to the industry that makes the people more secure, and the research will be advanced, very welcomed. So I think there it is. I think this is my old presentation. I would like to thank you so much, and I am here to listen to any question raised by you, Alexander.
Sure. Thanks so much, Lawrence. So we do have a few questions, some interesting questions nonetheless. First question is from Mr. Cake Guy. Has anybody tried to dump creds using Mimikatz on Windows 11? Does it work?
You need, yes, I tried on Windows 11. You need to be anti-system.
All
Did you
right.
try with anti-system? So administration, if you run it in Windows 10 and as administrator, and you try to run it again, it will get you some error like memory things, or like error like LSA memory dumps failed, something like that. But try to escalate to anti-system and try to use it again. I think it will work. I have a Windows channel where I have Windows 11, and it's work properly. Very good. You can refer also to the to my GitHub account issues. You can see people running it very carefully and very successfully.
All right. Thank you, Lawrence. Another person asks, Ishtar asks, I'm not really too sure what he means here. What's the convenient tool mentioned? Is it a typo for Covenant? I think it's one of the earlier slides that you had.
Yeah. Maybe I misspelled the name, the correct name, because I didn't use it. Yeah, Covenant. It's the C2 framework developed in C Sharp. I'm sorry if I written it the wrong way.
No problem. And another question from Master. He said, in the red team, are you doing any bug bounties? And if you are, what's the highest severity bug you have found?
Yes, I am actually started bug bounty since 2015. Like there's a lot of vulnerabilities severity that I have found. I can't remember like there are so many. I can't remember actually. Yeah, but I found in Facebook, I found in Carbon Black, I found in Adobe, I found in Yahoo. You can, I found like you can just maybe do some Googling. I think could help. I don't really remember this long time ago.
I remember that carbon black one actually. There,
Yeah,
it's like a
I think you were there, right?
yeah, because we were trying to tell our customers to buy carbon black, and then after you installed it for 10 minutes, I came back later and you found that it was
Yeah.
loading some Python file that didn't exist. So yeah. Anyways, interesting story. And here comes Ergo Proxy with the big bomb questions here. The big questions. While using Mortar, have you observed XDR heuristic malware identification techniques? XDR statistical analysis of system calls that a malware encrypted binary might be running. Just so I understand from you, Ergo Proxy, do you mean Cortex XDR? Because XDR is a pretty broad term. Just so Lawrence understands how to answer that question.
Yes. I think I have understand what he means. Maybe he's mentioned to something called HIPS, something which is also Cortex has a kind of behavioral analysis and tampering. Yes, Cortex and advanced solution can knows can notify, because actually Mortar is loader. It's not about hook and unhook of the system calls. It depends, just like ghosting your binary, right? But the thing in Cortex, it was just like they were able not to prevent their own cell, because I am hollowing their own process, right? And could happen to any solution you could face. If they stopped your binary from execution, like if you are running Cobalt Strike and it's failed, try to hollowing their own process. But they will able also to notify, they will able to register that you try to do that. So yes, the advanced one, they will keep monitoring the syscalls. They will keep tracking that through behavioral analysis. I think that's what I have understand from your question, and I think I answered it perfectly.
Yeah. That's interesting, Lawrence. And I remember the other day you were talking about that multi-layered approach as
Yes.
well.
Yes,
So
exactly.
okay, so more questions, and I know what your answer is going to be for the next one, but I'll let you answer it because we've had these discussions before. EGW5 asks, why Pascal?
Yeah. Pascal, because it's the malware developing language. If you don't know Delphi, so you just do some research about some Russian hackers, why they are using Delphi. Pascal for many reasons. First of all, it's my first language when I was 17 years old. The second thing is object oriented. The third thing is very easy to use. The fourth thing is free. I don't have to do any complicated stuff, right? And it's not being detected because no one knows that somebody do very badass tools using it, right? They are focusing on .NET packages only.
Thank you, Lawrence. The next question from user Druid. Since Mortar heavily uses encryption, can't you use entropy to check if something is encrypted and detected that way? I think that would
I'm not
be, yeah.
I'm
Could you
not sure if
elaborate a little bit more? Yeah, I don't get it too much either, Druid. Could you elaborate it just a little bit further on your question? While you elaborate, I'll move to the next question. Uh, there's a lot of conversation going on in here. I think I've covered all of the questions so far. We'll give people like another minute because I see somebody typing right now just to ask another question. Um, Meanwhile, Lawrence, what I like to ask too, because people will. Oh, yours is a question, Trickster. Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. I was looking for question marks. Um, uh, in the blog, it is stated that it bypasses the memory scanner. In what way does this bypass the memory scanner since there is no encryption during sleep or something similar?
Mm, I do not get. You mean that I cannot you cannot bypass it through while you're running through the memory? I do not get it. Sorry. What he means? Can you explain to me, Alexander?
Yeah, I don't understand it either. Maybe I'll just
Can
let them
I?
read it.
I will try to read it again.
Yeah, might be a good idea because I didn't get it quite either.
Sorry, who is that? Who has asked it? Sorry, I can just like.
Trickster Zero. He said when you actually execute the actual code, memory is clear text.
No, there is a base which is, first of all, I am putting all of these in every stage of decrypting or decoding. It has been done with a different memory stream, and yes, the final output is array of byte, but before the array of byte, there is a base 64, and that base 64 has been converted to array of byte in another memory stream. So there's a possibility they can know, but they didn't. It's very hard. The AV doesn't have your only one process to monitor and keep scanning it. You have a computer with many processes running. So he scanned the memory in the very start of the beginning. If there is something happening in the memory, he can adapt it, or he can detect it and prevent it. But if he is blind and miss the pieces of the code, he cannot. Absolutely, he cannot.
All right. Thank you, Lawrence. Oh, there's several people typing. There's quite a bit of stuff coming in. Let's see here. Right, I don't see anybody typing yet, but while people are coming up with some questions, Lawrence, I'd like to ask you some other questions for the younger guys who are just getting in to the industry. How do people when they get people are getting into the industry? Let's say you're a young guy, 18, and you're aspiring young guy or girl, sorry, aspiring to become a red teamer, more specifically somebody who can do exploit development like you. What are the steps necessary to take, and what type of tips do you have for these young people who are getting into the industry?
Yes, yes. The very, very highly advised tip that I can provide is start to learn mid to low programming languages. Like C is mid-level programming language. It's very also very good to understand, not to learn everything. It's very good to understand assembly, very low language. So in general, you have to have a very solid developing background. You have to learn at least two languages specific on systems like C, C sharp, C++. Pascal is up to you. Rust is good. Go, it's fast, but I don't like a scripting language. I like language which is either be struct or object oriented. This is my, or namespaces like C sharp. So it's up to you. But I think the first thing that you have to get is the developer perspective. The second thing is for sure enrolling to the related courses like CRTO by Zero Security, I think, Center in UK by Rasta Mouse. I think just Google it, CRTO, you will find it. There is also CRTP, which is very good. Yes, 0 Point Security, thank you. Um, Also, Spectre Ops, if your company can fund you. I mean, they are very expensive, but if you want to be very highly skilled red teamer, go to Spectre Ops, and they have a kind of very sold courses they have. It costs you about 5,000 to 6,000, I think. I think red teaming becomes really developing the market. Their money courses are coming in. But yes, before going red team, you should have a very solid programming language background.
Right, awesome. Thanks, Lawrence. And how do you compare like those Spectre Ops courses against the OSCP and that sort of stuff? And I know that there's also OSCE, which is a bit more advanced. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't somebody want to start with those at first and then maybe make their way up to like a Spectre Ops type of course later on?
Yes, starting for OSCP, actually, I advise it to my team, is very initial. Like right now, we do not accept any kind of person body of engagement if doesn't have initially an initial OSCP. OSCP is very required, so you have to get it, but doesn't make you retima. OSCP cover you a kind of bounding. a kind of hacking boxes, hacking machines, and getting closer to AD environment. They give you some tips about it. They give you knowledge, skills about Active Directory. But if you wanted to be Red Team Vision, you can start with first OSCP. Then you start with CRTO, CRTB. I think this is from the Pentesta Academy. There is Spectre Ops. There is OSEP if you wanted to learn defense evasions. I think this is the courses which is I really like, and I think I'm gonna to take the OSCP soon, and some of Spectre Ops depends on my company.
Yeah, depends on the budget, right? It's interesting. I did see like Ergo Proxy is right. They did do some courses in Brussels. I actually know a couple of people who went.
Yes,
Um,
highly
so
recommended.
there are a couple more questions in here. I think one of them got answered. The one by Explo was answered by Speedy. We actually use Cortex XDR quite a bit at Inviso. Um, so there was a question about why not use Rust or Go for building malware.
No,
Question by
absolutely not.
EGW5.
Rust, let me tell you something. Go is amazing, fast, whatever, but it's a scripting language for me. Maybe the people will tell me, no, it's a programming language. You can Google it. But for me, every language is very like simple to do functions and blah blah blah. Very easy to read. It's very. I don't think so. It's very like interesting to me. I don't think so. There is some malwares written in Go, but I didn't see until now something very fancy. Like even very like Mimikatz, why it's not written in Go? Why you didn't ask yourself like that? It's written in C, right? Why it's not in Go? Why it's not in these modern languages? Because C is mid to low language. That's what you want to learn. You should understand the system calls. You should understand the very low language level, not just like writing some modules, import modules and write it. No, this is not a programming, guys. You don't have to load modules and then write a script of 10 of lines and then you tell me I write a program. No, you are using a module, right? And that module has been written by other people, and that module is available to everyone. So you're not writing anything new. Sorry. So you have to write everything from scratch. That's how I think that this is programming.
Another person is also asking. It's a question coming from C7 or Costadinos. Is even easier to say your name than your username. So from Costadinos, he's asking, what about Rust?
Yeah, Rust is a very memory saving language. It's good, but if you will be lucky if you found some resources to learn. It's very hard. My friend tried to Rust and then he spent years trying to learn it. He told me like if I start with C is more better. At the end, I don't want to be my program to be memory saving. I am writing some security tools. Why should I care about memory stuff, right? Like memory leak or something, memory corruption, right? Rust is more for if you want to write very safe application with the speed and memory management, then yes, go for Rust. But you want to write very badass hacking tools, go to C. C++, yes.
All right. And another person is asking, what about the CRTO to get some knowledge on Red Team A, I suppose.
Yeah, CRTO is actually very sold course. Also, Rastamos is very knowledgeable person and very good course. You can get it, and it's like not very expensive. According to the information that he teach you how to use Cover Strike, that's very good.
Nice, nice. All right, and another question from Explo. Sorry if I'm missing any of your questions, guys. You can ping me again because there's a lot of questions coming. Explo asks, so all your red teamer colleagues have solid a solid programming background.
Yeah, for sure. Right now I am on Hong Kong, and so is the China. So most of the people here they are very have a very sold in programming languages and in hacking techniques, but they do not share. You cannot find them like heavily contribution on the internet, but they have very 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 good things, very talented.
Awesome. And another question from EGW5. He asks if you already have some background knowledge. I think that this is what he's trying to ask on penetration testing. Is it really necessary to go with OSCP?
Yes, OSCP is very required. Like even if you wanted to get hired, believe me, like OSCP is very required. They will ask you.
And also, Fanky is asking, I don't think this is a question for right now, but it's something that maybe we can work on at some point, Lawrence. Can you share a roadmap for red teaming, like which cert to go first and which one is irrelevant for red teaming, if there are any? I think that there is one that's pretty irrelevant. What is it? The Certified Ethical Hacker, the CEH. So I think that's pretty
TAH
irrelevant.
is actually TAH is wasting your money. It's
So
absolutely wasting your money. Do
we
not
could
waste
discuss.
anything on TAH.
Yeah, this is the general feedback that I get from the industry on that one.
Yes.
But I guess at some point we can maybe discuss Fanky if maybe the community can help out with like a cert roadmap or something like that. I think that's a good idea. Uh,
Yeah.
to the next question. Oh, and I think OSCP, interestingly enough, it actually helps you to build some structure. It actually teaches you what are the necessary steps to get moving and to help you build up like a specific mindset for penetration testing. So I think that's one thing that it does help you with. Um, so he said there was one question from Neuro. What do you think about Lua for tools or LUA for tools?
There is very good integration also between Lua and Pascal, and since there is integration, I think it's good for tools. So I didn't try anything still with Lua. I cannot answer you perfectly, but I think it's interesting language. Also, there is a new language which is I have been seeing recently. It's called NIM, NIM. It's really good for malware. It's if you wanna learn something good for malware. Also, it's very easy to start with. Also, NIM is popular these days.
Awesome. Thank you, Lawrence. Just trying to see if there's any more questions. There was quite a bit of. Oh, Explo wants to know if you recommend any red teamers to follow on Twitter.
I think there is a lot of people uh, doing red team. I think there is I think one guy who is like writing a lot of POF for Cobalt Strike. I think TUK something. I think he has a kind of a Twitter ID. I don't really. No, Namsek is bug pointy guy. It's not a red team. Don't mention bug pointy people, and they are not related. So I think Rasta Mouse is also one of the guys that I really like to follow. Um, they have also kind of also there is Paranoid Ninja. He has his own development for C2. I like his posts. There's a lot actually of people. Maybe Alexander, we can post. I give you some Twitter ID. You can put it in your Discord so you can monitor.
Definitely. So we can discuss that. I can maybe put up a list of those people, but I'd rather save the feeds for people who come into the community and contribute. So that's also good. But guys, don't forget we do have the expert feeds. So anytime that Lawrence actually makes a new tweet or anything like that, or Didier Stevens, or any of the guys who are doing talks here, or any of the experts from the community, you'll actually be able to see this stream in the expert feeds. It's a little bit buggy at times. I'm trying to make it work a little bit more effectively, but you'll be able to see everybody's posts as well. But Lawrence, maybe we can work on like making a small channel of interesting, professionals to follow on Twitter, so that way that they could, keep up with what's going on in the industry.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So we have 1 minute left. First of all, I want to thank you, Lawrence, for coming by to work with the community, take questions, do a presentation on Mortar. You've been doing some really awesome stuff, and you've been doing awesome stuff since day one, especially surrounding defense evasion. One of the most badass red teamers that I've met. I always recommend people to come and talk to you and to watch your talks and that sort of stuff. I think you do really excellent work, and especially in a very critical part of the field. Because today the big topic is defense evasion around EDR tools and advanced adversaries, and how do we stop those? So I think you're doing a great job the industry when it comes to defense evasion and that sort of stuff. So, thank you so much for spending time with
Thank you.
everybody, taking their questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. And any question, just DM my message, and I will reply when my free time. No worries.
Awesome, awesome. All right, guys, that's the end of today's talk. I hope you enjoyed it. Afterwards, well, right now there's a new event for Blue Team Career Guidance. It's going to be myself in November and perhaps a couple of people from Inviso to come by and to help you guys out and trying to figure out a roadmap for your career. So we'll be taking questions and maybe doing a presentation during that time. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks everybody for spending time. I'll see you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.